Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching. Jake Koenig, Justin Graham here. The regulars, joined by our data analyst, our data guru, the aficionado, Mr. Mike Sennett, Chat City Tactics on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Mike, welcome back. Feels like it's been a while, but a hell of a lot has happened since we last saw you.
Yeah, I feel like everything's happened apart from wins, probably, right? Since the last time I was on. We've won a game since I was on last. So yeah,
Yeah.
good to be back.
No, it's great to have you, man. And Justin, you're going to keep us posted here because if anyone tuning in right now live, we're in the midst or about to get started here on the MLS All-Star Skills Challenge, right? Tonight, Justin, is that it?
It is. Yeah. Let me share my screen on this. And I hate trying to do this with Canva, but we're going to get it going anyway. So, yeah, we were talking about it a little bit in the green screen. Depending on how you feel on All-Star games, I feel like the MLS is trying to keep up and trying to make this all a little bit more fun for people to watch. But obviously, at this point, like Mike said in the green room, you could see all these guys pretty much anytime you want with the MLS Pass. But here's what they're doing tonight for the Skills Challenge. So if you can see our screen, it's going to be a total of 10 guys from the MLS and 10 guys from Liga MX. And then you're going to have two special guests on each team. But what are they doing tonight? They're doing a shooting challenge, a touch challenge, a cross and volley challenge, which is the most fun one, in my opinion, to watch, passing challenge. And then they end it with a crossbar challenge. They also have goalie wars. And it gives the younger guys a little bit of time to shine there with the MLS Next Pro goalkeepers. But as you'll notice, we do not have a single city player on this. And we also don't have a single city player on the MLS All-Star game, which is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So fast facts on that one, fellas. When I was looking into this, I'm like, I don't really keep up with all this. I kind of want to see what the numbers are about. How do you get to the 30 guys that are in the All-Star game? You have 12 that are voted in, 16 that are elected by the coach of the All-Star team, which is the MLS All-Star team, which is Nico Estevez this year. And then Don Garber, the commissioner, gets to call in two guys as well. Who are the two guys that he called in? Chucky Lozano for San Diego FC, and then Patrick Gajiman, who will not be in the game because he is out now due to transfer to Bergen County. So then the other fun facts about this, only 16 teams have a guy in the All-Star game. So us being one of the teams is not that uncommon considering there are 13 other teams with us who don't have a guy in the All-Star game. Vancouver leads the way with 4 players. Then Nashville, Philly, and San Diego each have 3. There are also 3 teams currently in a playoff spot that do not have an All-Star. And I'm not talking wildcard spots, truly playoff spots. That's Charlotte, who's 7th in the East, Portland, who's 6th in the West, Colorado, who's 7th in the West. And then there's 3 teams who are outside of the playoffs that do have an All-Star. That's Chicago Fire, New England Revs, and Real Salt Lake. So it's kind of a mixed bag of guys, honestly. So this was, I'm trying to give you a little bit of fun facts when you're watching this tonight. But from a skills competition perspective, which, like you said, is kicking off in 30 minutes at time of recording, this is all going to be, it's kind of fun to watch. They try to make some small-sided games, but it does get confusing just with how much they try to pack into one night.
Mike, I know you love the All-Star Skills Challenge. We were talking about it in the green room right before this. Who are you pulling for tomorrow in the actual All-Star match? The MLS All-Stars or Liga MX All-Stars? Give us your take.
Oh, definitely neither. If I can have both teams lose, that's me. Any way to make sure that the All-Star games in any sport never happen again, sign me up. But an interesting point, since the transfer window is about to start, there's actually only 4 South Americans in the MLS All-Star game, which is the same number as Danish and Norwegian players. Interesting for people clamoring for more South Americans.
Yeah, that is interesting. That is interesting for sure. Look at that. All right, putting 2 and 2 together. That's what we bring you here, Mike.
He says he hates the All-Star game, and then he's bringing in facts like that.
I mean, you can't help myself. That's just, yeah.
You've got it on another screen right behind you, Mike. We just can't see it. I know you're watching it. I know you're watching it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's move on, boys. Let's talk some city stuff. I guess the easiest way to get into it is, there's been a lot of news today with some transfers coming in. But before we get to the transfers and kind of get your thoughts on this, Mike, and yours, Justin, I do want to talk about availability for us. Obviously transfers impact that, but we do our ball watching STL injury report courtesy of Schmickens Injury Law Firm. Unlike our boys in red, an injury off the pitch shouldn't have been your life. The Schmickens Injury Law Firm fights to obtain fair compensation for people who have been injured in car wrecks, been injured on the job, you name it. Give Rob a call, our friend, at 314-222-4223 to discuss your case. Mention us, mention ball watching, even mention Mike, because he's been on the show plenty of times at this point. You can call him a little co-host at this point. And again, you won't pay unless you win your case. So make sure you give Rob a call at 314-222-4223 or check him out at hurtinstl.com Disclaimer, the choice of a lawyer is an important one. It should not be based solely on advertisements. Boys, injuries seem to be dissipating just a little bit as in this last game. And I'm saying a little bit. I'll literally take one name off the list, Mike. Like, this is where Justin and I are at this point. Like, it always grows. It almost feels like week to week now that we do this report. But recently, there's been a little bit of movement. You had Leuven lift off there. You had Baumgartner lift off there last week, which is great. You're still missing some sore, really central players with Kessler, Durkin, and, even I would say Morales right now. I'm not even going to talk about Nilsson because who even knows what's going to happen. I know we'll talk about Nilsson here at some point during the show. But I think, if anything in this 11 that we put out in this last match against Dallas, definitely miss Celio with that shoulder injury. I know he's questionable on that designation heading into it. But besides him, guys, do you all see anyone coming available, coming good before this weekend that could be a potential saving grace for us? I think Durkin's probably the closest, but still maybe not there yet.
I mean, I don't assume anyone's coming back from injury until I see them on the pitch, right? I think that's the only thing that they've earned is you have to proceed with absolute caution. Heck, sometimes they warm up and then they get injured. So that's why, unless they're on the pitch themselves, I'm not taking any flyers on who I think is going to be showing up. I don't know.
Dude, I don't even trust him. We'll talk about the new guys. Song Bin, apparently he's been wearing like a wrist, not even like a cast. But I'm not saying since he got here, when he was on Minnesota, like that man's going to end up slipping on whatever kind of weather we got working in St. Louis and re-injuring that wrist at our luck.
Yeah. Well, let's just say this. Not going to see much improvement in this report. Maybe I've heard Durkin could make the game day roster for this match, but I wouldn't expect them to throw him into there. God knows whatever this team is thinking from a rehab, physio perspective this season. I think we've at least alluded to it, myself and Justin. I won't throw you into the bucket there, Mike. Just a little concerned with how things are managed in terms of injuries at the club here. And I think this list growing definitely represents at least one symptom of that. But would love to see a little more improvement in this area. But for what we can see, we've got some new bodies to fold in. We will not have Fall available, the new left-sided center back for us in this one. It looks like they're still working on the work visa and all that fun stuff.
The window doesn't open yet either.
And the window's not open yet technically either. But I'm right. Because you couldn't, even if you got that stuff sorted, Mike, with him and then Song Bin Jung and Paddleford, you couldn't get anyone registered, ready to go until, eligible by the 26th, right? And the window opens on the 25th.
I don't know how the cash furs and the inter MLS stuff works for that regard. But yeah, definitely with Fall, he physically cannot play, even if he was here ready to go.
Right. Right. It was nice to see those guys get integrated into training today. So you saw Song Bin and you saw Paddleford, announced last night and this morning and in training today. I mean, obviously those deals were well struck, before this, but, Justin, you and I talked about Song Bin Jung, probably the most of those two, right? So far, I think last week and the week prior when this was initially broken by Tom Bogert on X. Mike, give us your take on Song Bin Jung. I feel like I've picked up a little bit from you on social media on your take on it, but it came out today, $1.6 million fixed fee in terms of that cash compensation and up to $400,000 in conditional cash based on performance incentives. What does this hold the water test for you? Obviously, you haven't seen him in a city jersey yet, Mike. But are you excited about this one?
Well, actually, the last away game my wife and I went to was that last game of the season in Minnesota, where he scored 2, and he was like a whirlwind. We could not contain him whatsoever. We can't contain anyone, but we definitely couldn't contain him at the end of last season. There's definitely been a lot of talk about the fee, and I think my standpoint on the fee is, one, it's not my money, so I don't care how much they spend. And 2, there's been a lot of talk about like the transfer value versus GAM and Garber bucks and whatever. And like the $1 million in Garber bucks that we got for Indiana Vasilev is vastly more valuable than 1.6 or $2 million in just cold hard cash, because you got the buy down aspects and trading and like they're apples and oranges, so you can't even compare just straight numbers. So as far as money wise, I don't care. Spend money if you have money and bring in players to make a wooden spoon favorite, not a wooden spoon favorite. Concerned, but taking all that aside, just the player himself. I mean, we've got to be the slowest team in Major League Soccer, right? If nothing else, we're the second slowest team in Major League Soccer. And we have absolutely no one that can play in wide positions on this team. And now we're back to playing the 4-2-3-1 under Critchley that requires wide players. So slam dunk, as far as I'm concerned, is just getting a position of need. And he fills that U22 status. Again, if you care about the roster nerd stuff. But it's just, he might not be the best player in the world, but guess what? We're a bad team. So anyone is better than nothing. And, he might replace Alm in essence. Alm played 8 minutes this year.
Yeah.
Like, he is providing something. If Sangbin plays 10 minutes on Saturday, he will have done more than Alm did all season. Like, it's just crazy to think about.
And one thing I want to note on this too is people are looking at this and it's a misconstrued stat when they see that he's played 15 games and has 0 goals and 0 assists. It's like, no, he's played in a total of 15 different matches. He's only had 309 minutes for Minnesota this year. So that is just over 3 full 90s for this team. And if you look back to last season, he had 25 starts with 32 games played out of the 34, had 6 goals and 2 assists. And reminder, fellas, those 6 goals would have led our team last year because we didn't have anyone over 5. So this is a guy that I think that we're, again, buying. Yes, we're spending more money on it, and people are getting a little concerned with that, but also they're swinging from left to right of, well, we haven't spent enough, and now we're spending too much. This is a 23-year-old that has a lot of upside and had a great season last year. He had a different place this year with the new head coach and a couple new signings for them, and I think he's going to be a great fit for us.
Mike, to round this out, your thoughts. I mean, you've kind of coined the best 11 and the linkage between having more of those players in the field and results and how those two kind of run together. Again, without having even seen him play a game for us yet and knowing the form this year has been a little bit different underneath the new head coach, take all that aside, or you can put into account if you want to. I would go maybe on a limb and say he probably immediately cracks the best 11 and should probably start in your attacking lineup. Because outside of Klaus and Hartel, for me, there's no one that is inked, in permanent marker, like they need to be out there every match. I like Celio a lot. He just was out this last shoulder with his shoulder injury. I think Songbin probably slots right into your right side the moment you feel like he's ready.
Yeah, I mean, do we even have a right-sided attacker now that Alm is gone for the season? I don't think so. Like, Betcher's not a right-sided attacker. He's doing it because he has to. But you've got Silva, who may or may not exist at all, is on the left-hand side. Celiel, left-hand side. Toyshirt, somewhere. He fits, I guess. Right now, he fits nowhere. He should fit on the bench right now. But that's a different topic. So, yeah, I mean, Sangbin, I think, is clearly your starting right wing in this formation. That's why you've spent money, regardless of the fee. That's why you did it, right? To have someone come in and bring a physical presence that we lack, and someone that can, like, Simon Betcher is really good at stretching the line, but he's slow at doing so. So, like, the threat is only if he times it perfectly, whereas someone like Sangbin is extremely fast, and that's a totally different conversation we're having. He could beat you in different ways because he has a physical profile that allows him to do so. So, yeah, starting right wing for me.
What about the other signing from Minnesota? Not a permanent. This is a loan, and a very short-term loan right at that. I mean, Minnesota has Devin Paddleford at left back, center back. They've kind of coined him, through the end of 2025. They've loaned him to us now. They do have a contract option on him as well come the end of the season for next season. This one, I think he's their first homegrown, and they're giving us, basically 2.5 months with him. Obviously, he'll provide some cover there, which we have very little of right now on the left side. And we've always struggled to fill the boots of whoever's playing at left back for us. So not a sexier one here, but I guess it's practical. It's putting more bodies in a position of need right now where you're really leaning on Orozco at this point, who just signed his first team contract. Jay Reed came in this last game, didn't look that great. And I think his left back profile is a little bit different. I mean, very different in my opinion from Orozco's. So you're kind of giving yourself some different looks. Maybe Paddleford comes in and they lean on him up front. I'm struggling on this one because it's such a short-term deal. Unless you have some sort of option in there that they didn't tell us about in the release, like an option to buy or whatever, I struggle leaning too much on this guy outside of necessity, given he's not a part of the future with this club. So do you guys have thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense from a profile standpoint. Yeah, definitely. Am I wrong? I mean, seriously, I think we've had like 9 or 10 guys have already played left back in 2.5 years. Like we should make a shirt while watching Chat City Tactics left back kit. It'd be great. But no, I mean, if you think about Orozco, he kind of playing that hybrid left back, center back role. And that's Paddleford his history is at playing left back and center back, so probably a very similar fit there. So is the plan then to just kind of move Reed back to City too, because he's been extremely underwhelming in his minutes so far this season. His numbers are just awful.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the thought. I'm curious what that then does to Fall, because Fall's your left-sided center back of the present and the future, presumably. Does that mean in this like 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it, is he playing in the center? Does he play at the left? Kind of how does that switch things? So I think that's the really interesting thing, because I think Paddleford definitely makes sense with Orozco, even though I wouldn't roster both of them. They did anyways. Was what happens with Fall, because I just don't know where he fits. If he's going to be central, then Kessler can play on the right if Kessler's ever healthy, which is, I think, the best case scenario for us anyways.
And this then brings in another question as well, Mike, that I want to get your thoughts on is where does this push Volume to? I mean, essentially, if you think about this, if we're going to either stay at 4 in the back or go to a 5 in the back with 3 center backs, does Volume then become a center defensive mid? And then you're kind of, then it's what do you do with Durkin and Leuven? Or if we go with 5 in the back, do you put Volume all the way on the left side? And then, I mean, obviously with a quick loan here for Paddleford, I don't know if we're really going to be switching our formation at this point in the year. What are your true thoughts on then where does that push Volume? Because I feel like he is somebody that is at least showing some sort of promise for this team going forward.
So, I mean, he's kind of positionless now, right? Because he was brought in to be the starting left wing back and a 5 at the back under Olaf. We don't play that anymore. He's not probably good enough to start at left wing over a Celio or a Jande or whomever you might think on the left. He's not going to start over Sangbin on the right. So he either comes on as a sub for one of those guys, or he plays as a sub in the middle of the park. So he's probably like third option at like 3 different positions, and that's him right until he's gone in 3 months. Probably. That's probably his prospects for the rest of the season. Because he's the victim of the managerial switch more than anyone else on the team, I would say.
For sure. No, I would agree. Hey, before we transition off the player personnel, fellas, I was going to make one quick mention too, because this was last week. This happened. We didn't cover on the show here, Justin, because it happened after we recorded. But AZ, our favorite floating 10, was obviously with us for a while, and we moved him on to Columbus Crew. I think it was just hopefully for I was thinking we might regret this trade. I don't think things went exceptionally well in Columbus for him either, and it sounds like he always wanted to go to Europe. He finally got there. He has gone to the top tier in Poland. I'm not even going to attempt this team name. Actually, I will. Screw it. It's Tuesday. Jagiellonia Białystok. Mike, I don't know if you can do better than me on that with your own impressions that you've given us here, but he's in Poland. In the top tier, got his move to Europe. He's worth $2 million on the transfer value for on transfer market for his his monetary value. I don't know if they got that for him, but we get a sell on with that. That was part of our deal with Columbus, so we're getting a cut of whatever that transfer fee was. I haven't seen that publicized yet, but you'd imagine we're pocketing at least a couple $100,000 on the back of that transfer. So we'll see how that goes for him. But that was interesting for us. Obviously gives us some financial, kickback almost on that sell on here. But boys, we got to talk about Dallas. We'll keep it brief from a sporting perspective. This game was one of those games where you watch it, and I just don't think there was a whole lot you learn from it. Outside of it was just a really, really poor performance from our team. I mean, we could have been playing a lot of different teams, and I think a similar result in terms of the loss would have happened for us. But I do also think, and Mike, you said this much in the green room before this, the score line doesn't necessarily reflect that either. I think that looks a little bit harsher on us, but I think it kind of started with the 11, right? Because Mike, you said this, Justin, we put this in our 11 graphic. I think it was going to be very tempting for Critchley to roll out with the toy shirt Hartel, Betcher, Klaus here, because you were missing Celio. Obviously, Alm's a ghost, out for the season for us. Lacking any sort of confidence in Silva, which they don't have, right? I don't think he started a match now since he's been at the club. It was tempting. They went for it. And I really feel like the attack suffered probably a lot because of the personnel there, because there's just so much wanting to be central. And you look at the pass snap and the average positions, and everyone was just stacked on top of each other while Totland kind of ran that right side. But everyone else was so aggregated right into central part of the pitch for us. We could not do anything in the chance creation department. Might have had a lot of possession. People talk about field tilt. Remember how much people were talking about, oh, Christian wants to up our field tilt percentage. We won the battle in the field tilt on this one, but I think we had almost 2/3 of the field tilt. Field tilt, let me just tell you all, does not matter if you don't do anything with it. It doesn't matter if you just possess the ball in your half, because we had so much of that and we did nothing with it. I'll get off my soapbox, fellas. Justin, I'll start with you. Generic sort of thoughts, concerns, themes as you watched that performance against Dallas. We obviously heard Lutz call it disgraceful. Would you agree with that take?
Yes, but I think that's where I think he probably could have used a little bit of better terminology, because I think he's already starting, as people are starting to mention, feeling like he's on the hot seat. I don't think that's going to help with your locker room presence in that sense. But ignoring that, just generally, just on the 3 goals, and I'll let Mike go in a little bit more of the stats of it. First goal, you got to track your markers. We've been talking about that all season long. Center defensive mids, not tracking a guy coming down and just absolutely burying one in the back of the net. Second goal, don't know what. It's just 2 horrible mistakes out of Josh Yarrow, turning his back, letting the ball bounce twice before then a flicked ball gets into a bomb guard. I don't even know what he's trying to do with the step there. And obviously no one else is there to cover, because no one has solid rest defense on this team. And then lastly, a poor mistake by Orozco. It's already that late in the game. I don't really care, but he tries to go down and take like a block shot. And then when he's already like halfway on his way down, then tries to make a lunge, gives up the PK. Overall, nothing exciting in this one. That's why there's nothing to write home about. I'm still a little confused. Do we know why that they cover up like 2/3 of their stands? It kind of makes sense why
that was weird.
They've only had 1 win at home this season. Well, now they have 2. If you count us. And I lost some money as well, because I bet on Scotty Scheffler to win the Open with City to score 1 goal. I just needed 1 goal take. Scotty Scheffler -175, City to score a goal -450. How did it even money? I can't even get that.
Oh, Mike, hopefully you do not have that. Do you have any positives? I have one, but I'll wait. Do you have any positives or things you took away more overall from this match?
I mean, yeah, that's a good point from Ryan Fraley. I think that entire side is closed, even though it's a stadium without a roof built in Dallas in a league that plays in the summer, which should be illegal, point blank. That shouldn't be allowed. I don't really know if I have any positives, guys. I mean, we had 0.2 post-shot expected goals. Like, we didn't even, have a whisper. We hit the post or the crossbar, right? And then Leuven hit the post. I guess the benefit is you saw Leuven for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That was my positive. I actually thought, I don't know if I could remember one really positive individual performance outside of his, and he had almost the least amount of time out there. I actually thought he looked really tight. Remember when he came in the U.S. Open Cup game where he had just returned from injury, or just returned from that longer stint where he had been injured, then he took some time away, and he came back and he looked really rusty, like heavy first touches, a lot of overcooked passes. Here, I thought he looked really tidy, lifted us immediately early on that second half, but he can only do so much. When there's nothing going on in front of you, he cannot propel this team to victory, and he almost did with that banger off the post. So I actually really liked his performance. Outside of that, I don't think I had a positive thing to say about this game. I as much as I think, Justin, I agree with you, it's weird that Lutz kind of lightened up the team on the radio show the morning after. I also, sort of think maybe it's him kind of starting to feel a little bit of pressure, under his own bottom. Like, you know what? Like, this team that I assembled on the pitch, as bad as injuries have been, is still not performing. And in that performance, we're not asking for a lot when guys are getting out there and putting out effort. You know what I mean? So we weren't asking for the prettiest, to turn around and become a really, really top, dangerous team. We just need to see consistency. We need to see building. We need to see progression. We need to see effort. And not many, if any, of those things were on display in that match. And he said as much in that radio segment. So I thought that was interesting. I'm glad that maybe some accountability is being taken around it, that we're taking this seriously, because he reminded, I think it was it was with Ackerman. He said, it's really disgraceful because a lot of these guys are playing for their contracts. A lot of guys are up in 2025 with options for 2026. And this is what they're putting on display for me to really consider. So people probably making his job a little bit harder in the negative way, right? Because now he needs to find a reason to keep some of these players. But, it was a really disappointing performance against a really, really bad home team in Dallas. We made them look so good on that transition. Obviously, Musa is a great striker, and he made us pay dearly on multiple occasions. But we played right into Dallas's hands, gave them the early goal. They got to sit back, try to soak up. We could not do anything. We had a wet noodle out there. We could do nothing in the chance creation department. So really disgruntling if you're watching as a City fan, or if you traveled.
Yeah, Mike, I want to get your thoughts on this. Jake and I talked about it outside of this as well. But what are your thoughts on the subs in this game? Because I thought there was, I mean, like we already mentioned, we love seeing Leuven in for a full 45. I appreciate that. Silva for Toy Shirt, I think that's more of a legs thing. And also we've talked about how poor Toy Shirt have been. But the 71st minute, the two subs where you had Reed for Ostrak and Watts for Totland. What are your thoughts on that? Because in my opinion, I don't really understand when we're already down 1-0. Neither of the guys that you're bringing on bring more of an attacking presence than the two you're taking off. If you're saying it's a legs thing, I don't understand that, considering Ostrak has played just over 7 full 90s this season. Totland hasn't played that many as well, especially with his injury so far this season. He's only played less than 9 full 90s the entire season. And we just came out of halftime. So these guys have been playing soccer for 26 minutes after already having a break. So what are your thoughts on Reed for Ostrak and Watts for Totland?
It's one of those, like, nothing is working, I guess, so try something different. And then you kind of look at the bench, who are the guys we didn't use? It was JGR. Well, he's definitely not going to provide an offensive spark. Yeah. Hebert is the inverse. He's the Uno reverse card of an offensive spark. Zelensky, yeah, I mean, you could argue Zelensky on the right? And then Lund is the other option. So I the only thing I can see is you're Critchley and Critchley's staff, and you're going, this isn't working. What else can we do? And maybe it's just try different bodies. That's it. There's really no rationale that I can, like, this makes a ton of sense unless it's that for me. So
my only thought would be, I could 100% think I would have took Zelensky in for Ostrak if you're going to be making a switch there, or maybe Zelensky for Totland and leave Ostrak in and maybe try a different formation, because I just don't think that the attacking presence that you're bringing on with Watts and Reed is going to get the job done.
Yeah,
that might be subs at 5-1 in the 70th minute, and we just needed some fresh bodies and some legs to be able to close pressing down and be able to make sure we don't have another goal go in the back of the net. But it is pretty sad, to your point. It is a fair point as well that nothing's working. We got to throw in just two dudes that aren't going to bring any attacking presence, but maybe they'll at least switch up the game a little bit. I don't know. I'm going to look.
Yeah. I mean, we should talk about the Pierce sub, though.
Because interesting. Talk about that, Mike, because I know there's, all the rules and regulations with appearances for homegrown players and whatnot. And Tyson Pierce, basically, we burned one of his appearances for nothing. Like, when you step onto the field, that counts officially, no matter how many minutes you play, whether you started or you came in for a minute. Basically, how long was he on the pitch for? I don't know if I even wrote it down because it happened so late.
Subbed on at 89 or 90.
Yeah. What are we doing? Like, why would you do that if you have any plans to give him more meaningful minutes in the first team moving forward on these short-term call-ups from City 2? You just burned one for no reason there, like, just for fun. It was weird.
I mean, that's like a thing you see, obviously, across the globe. Is like you throw in a youngster at the end of the game, but those leagues aren't run stupidly. You can actually play youngsters. Here, you get punished for playing youngsters, but you can only play them so many times. Because I think you can only actually play twice. Is it like 4 appearances, but you can only play twice, or
it's
something like that? Yeah. And we burned it on 4 minutes. Like, just throw JGR on, throw Zelensky on. They can play any number of games. You're not burning it. It's annoying to me. I think I don't know if that's a short-sightedness from the coaching. They're not even thinking about it in the moment, because they're like, hey, this stinks. Let's give the kids some time. But then in hindsight, they're like, crap. Like, why did we do that? I don't know. It could be something as simple as that.
I also kind of think sometimes too, though, like, that has the inverse effect on me. Like, that when I was playing in high school, one of my first ever games, we were getting shelled, and I was the goalie. I think there was, when I got taken out, we lost 5-2. I think it was like 4-0 when I got taken out, and I was young, right? And so the coach pulled me out, and he's like, hey, not at all like performance related, really, really shitty game. I'm sorry you had to go through that, but like, I can't ruin you for these next 4 years because you just have this seared in your mind. And I'm like, okay, like, I appreciate that. Why are we throwing in Pierce? Like, we're down 3-0. I do think Critchley has to know about this rule with the appearances. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Lutz had to have given him a cue, like, hey, here's where we're at right now. Like, maybe don't burn this if we were not planning to give him some meaningful time to actually kind of grow and mature. Like, what's he going to get from 1 minute of regulation time plus maybe another 2 or 3 of stoppage in a 3-0 game where nothing has gone right for us? I just kind of question it. It just, if anything, we can just call it this. It just looks a little bit discombobulated. Like, we just don't look like we're all on the same page. and we're burning things like this for no reason and giving a kid a memory of a couple minutes when you can maybe give him a start. If really things don't matter, which they don't anymore, right? For us at this point in the season, like I'd rather Tyson Beers go out and get 90 or get 60 with the first team. Like, see how it goes. Like, just throw him into the fire, not in the 91st minute.
You mentioned it, Jake. I mean, Critch definitely knows better because he's been with City too prior to this. He's been a part of that system. It's not like we just brought a guy in from Europe that may not understand the MLS rules. Like, if anybody understands it, it's the guy that's been feeding the first team for the past couple of years. And it's just depressing when you look at some of these young guys. We talked about it, and I think that's a hot topic that we can quickly discuss as well. Is Makai Joyner? You think about him and how the minutes that he's played this year. You think about Tyson Pierce. You think about a Caden Glover, and then Jake, you did a little retweet of this. We got a young star. Lorenzo Cornelius. Look at this little dirty dribble that he's doing in the MLS Next Pro All-Star game.
Yeah,
put the kid on his butt.
And we were told about him, Justin. I mean, admittedly, we don't follow like the academy devoutly. I know some people do, and kudos to them. But the Soccer Dad Pod guys told us about Lorenzo, or they call him Low. There's a nickname for him, Zoe, or something like that. And I saw that clip yesterday in the rounds. They were very, very high on his ability to play, and he's still so young. But to see a City player, it doesn't matter what age you are, with the crest on, that's putting guys on their ass. It's always fun to see. And we don't really have any sparkle players, like maybe outside of like a Celio right now on the roster. So it was fun to watch that clip. I mean, that's something that'll put a smile on my face at this point, guys. It's not clearly the first team. So I'll watch Cornelius highlights.
Give a big shout out to the Soccer Dad Pod with JB and Jared and those guys over there. Those guys follow that heavily. Obviously, they have some of their sons that are a part of the system and have some good insight on things that you don't really get from trying to follow just even City 2 or the Academy. So they were the big shout out for them for letting us know about him, and that I was extremely happy about that highlight. I would like to see what these guys could do more going forward. Mike, I know it's tricky with the rules and all of this, but like, do you see that we could have a Makai Joyner make some more presence? Do we see some of these guys actually getting starts this year? Or are we just truly scrapping the season?
I mean, like, you can bring Joyner up now, right? But you have to do some finagling. So whether that be Glover, like loaning him to City 2, since he seems not even like close to being ready for minutes. So that's kind of the problem that I think. I mean, it's a problem that's resonated for the past couple of years now, is that our supplemental roster management from Lutz, and if it's Diego or Lutz or the managers, has been so suboptimal that we're having to roster guys that don't even play. So you get guys like Glover, who takes up one of the 10 slots. You get a guy like Wenzel, who we had every center back who's ever played for St. Louis City injured at one point this season, yet he can't play a minute.
Yeah.
You have 2 goalkeepers on that. That's 4 of your 10 there. And now you've got Paddleford, and you've got Zielinski, who's barely playing, and Reed, who might not be playing anymore because you bring Paddleford on. So it's like we're just wasting all these slots that could go to someone like a Joyner. So I think you have to do some finagling, and you need to do a little bit of reshuffling. And you might need to have someone else that figures out how to actually operate this supplemental roster, because you have to rely on it when you only have 20 senior slots. And we are not doing that at all. It is so suboptimally run. And it's costing us, and it's cost us in the injuries, and now it's costing us by we can't play promising youngsters, and it's annoying.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Justin, I think, like Mike said, right now, like Joyner is off the table. You can't do anything with him for right now until there is an outgoing technically, or like a loan to City 2 for the rest of the season. You will not see any Joyner for the rest of the season as of right now.
I mean, at this point, why would you not just send like a Kyle Hebert or Yarrow to City 2 and say, screw it? Like, I'm being completely honest. It's kind of a joke, but at that point, like, these guys that we've seen just not perform for us, why not even then give a chance to some of these young guys?
Yeah, I think to that end, Justin, where I'm going with this, and we're kind of, and we'll talk about some of these topics here as we round out and talk maybe a little bit about Minnesota as well for the weekend. But everyone wants to talk about incomings and who are we going to sign? Who is it going to be? Who's the next striker? Who's the next winger? Who's the next CDM? Fellas, like I said, we're capped. Like right now, there is no movement until, and the new guys are all, we have room for them. Those guys can all come in and get registered, in time. But right now we have a full roster with a lot of waste, a lot of fat that needs to be trimmed. And I think Lutz is going to have to spend a good amount of this window. Again, if you want to do anything, you've got to see some outgoings first. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think there's going to be some serious outgoings, maybe some surprises in this window, because you're going to have to make some room if you want to make any sort of impact signings in this window, which you could argue that Fall and Sangmin Jung are two of those as well. But I don't think it's done. I think Lutz is really going to almost treat this window as maybe one of his final swings. Given the runway that he has left, he's got to hit this one hard. He always likes to operate in this time frame of the year, given the European season is taking a break right now for their off season. I think he's going to have to be aggressive on the outgoing side, and that might result in some potentially controversial outgoings. I mean, a lot of guys, like I said, they're coming up on the end of their contracts here. Could you do a little bit of wheeling and dealing here, get them out early and free up some room for some new arrivals to freshen the blood up, make sure they have the rest of the season to kind of get in bed like we had last season? We thought we'd be great this season or better this season. Can you maybe actually execute that this year and let them roll into the off season and get acclimated here, then really kickstart 2026? It's going to be a busy window, I would imagine. And if it's not, there's going to be a lot of upset City fans out there. I mean, what do you guys think about this window? I mean, it opens in 2 days.
I was going to ask Mike, what are the rules with that with like Fall? So if it opens in 2 days, can that just be plugged and played on Saturday?
I think if like his visa's cleared and everything, he could just play.
Yeah.
I don't know if all that will be done in time, but by the rules, I think he could play.
Yep.
Sure.
So I think the other two are available. And he just needs his work permit and stuff. But I really do think, guys, like it's going to be a interesting summer here because you're locked. There's no room anymore.
I'm just staring at the supplemental roster thing again. And this was brought up by a guy who's smarter than me in our Discord, TT. I'll give him a shout out here. Our supplemental roster, that's 10 slots for everyone that's listening. 2 of those are goalkeepers. Then you have Reed, Watts, Yarrow, Orozco, Wenzel, Zielinski, Paddleford. Those are all defenders. And then the only other spot is Glover, a 17, 18-year-old who's not even close. Those are the 10 supplemental slots. What are we doing?
Yeah.
We got to get
like Taylor Twellman here. What are we doing? If this gets posted, he'll definitely see it. I'll probably make fun of me for it later.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand. It's so suboptimal. It can't be that hard.
And the problem that I have with it this year too is like we already knew this. Like this is not like we saw the writing on the wall heading into this season. Like the depth we didn't really think was there. We were trying a new formation, but yet we didn't have cover in some positions, and some guys that we had in the roster maybe didn't really fit that new formation stylistically, and there was just mismatches all over the place. And then you get hit with this injury crisis, and you're having to roll out Josh Yarrow, Kyle Hebert every week on end. You're never going to give another guy like Wenzel an opportunity. Why is he even there? Yeah. He's just sucking someone else's air at this point. Like, we need to get him out. If you have no plans to play him, why are you signing him? So, and that's that you hit it on the head, Mike. It's just, this is a league where there's so much restriction on what you can and can't do. So the decisions that you do make, especially in those depth positions, they've got to be for the right price and for profiles that you can turn to in a time of need. They may not be like illustrious, like nice players, but they're functional. They get things done. You have to be able to turn to them in these long, grueling seasons. Like, in ours have just been called out time after time, game after game, about how thin ours is and the low quality. So I agree. Those signings aren't sexy, but you're going to have to get those right if you want to make a high-powered, octane team.
Yeah, Mike, I'm gonna share screen real quick. I've been running too many. I've spent way too much time on this not to. Here's a quick rundown of what we are paying guys and how much they're making per minute on what they're being paid. So, for example, here for everybody that's not watching, our top 7 guys that are getting paid over $1 million, only 2 of them are on pace to have 2,000 minutes in the season. And just a reminder, 3,060 minutes is the total season. So that means only 2 of our top 7 paid players are going to play an entirety of the 2/3 of the season. And then here's where the worst part comes into play. If you look at how much some of these guys are making per minute they are playing on the season, well, one, Alm's is kind of a one-off, obviously only having 7 or 8 minutes this season, $39,000. This Nielsen one hurts. And this is the one I was kind of alluding to in the green screen. Nielsen is making almost $6,800 per minute played. And this is not on the minutes he's played so far. He's played 132 minutes this season. If you take that, that's 2/3 of the season. If you add on the back half or the back third of the season based on those numbers, he'll play 176 minutes for $6,800. Do you know how much Messi will make if he plays 2,000 minutes this season? How much he'll make per minute?
Tell us, Justin.
$6,000 flat. Nilsson will make more money per minute played in the MLS than Messi this season. You know who else will make more money then? If you combine Suarez, Busquets, and Bouanga's salaries per minute played, Nilsson will still beat them on how much he is making per minute. So this is, from an injury perspective, this is extremely disruptive from us, but it's something that has to be said because this is a terrible, terrible look for a team when you're spending this much money and they are just racking it up, not even being on the bench, much less seeing the field. Sorry, that was my rant.
No,
it's fair.
Valid. I mean, you can't miss. You can't, when you're paying that much money for a player, you've got to treat them like a Rolls Royce. Like, give him some love. You can't let him break down. He wasn't an injury guy before he came to us. And all of a sudden,
he had the injury right after he signed.
Right. Yeah. And that was
downhill since then.
Out of our control. The first.
If he was like 1% worse, he wouldn't have played for Sweden. And then he probably never gets injured. So his problem is the fact that he was good enough.
Right. No, I agree.
That's the hot take of the day. He was too good when we signed him.
You're right.
And now
You're right.
In that sense.
We got our hopes up, and then we never saw him again. Boys, really quick, before we get into some broader topics about, roster construction, transfer window, what's wrong with this team, it's not getting easier for us. We are welcoming in a top team in the West here this weekend in Minnesota United, who did us dirty earlier in the season with a 3-0 loss away and then a 3-2 loss away 4 days later. Obviously, both those in Minnesota. One of those, the second, was the U.S. Open Cup and our ultimate dismissal. And frankly, I think I said this, Justin, when we recorded the recap. I thought that that week in general, losing twice to Minnesota in that fashion, pretty much spelled curtains on Olaf's tenure. I don't think he was fired right after that, but things just weren't looking good after that. I mean, obviously the morale was very, very low, but Minnesota's a good team. 41 points already this season, 11 wins, 5 losses, 8 draws, 40 goals for. Only 3 teams. They're one of only 3 teams in the West that have 40 goals for. Other 2 being San Diego and San Jose. But this is a pretty solid side. And one, I think when I say that it's not getting easier, they have such a better defense than a lot of other teams we play against. They're really resolute, really compact. They are going to be a matchup on paper of hell for us. Like, just when things are going right up top for us, you don't want to come up against a team like this that is just so tight and compact on defense. They allow the 6th fewest shots on target against this season, tie for 3rd most clean sheets, have a good goalkeeper in Dane St. Clair. I'm not feeling good, guys. I mean, do you have anything else you guys want to talk about, anything about Minnesota in terms of what's coming up? Because there's a good comment here from Ryan. This looks like a bogey team for us. It just doesn't feel like it's going to be successful. Usually I try to bring in some optimism.
Who isn't a bogey side for us?
Yeah, that's true. Dallas was, apparently.
I'll be honest. We've won, 3 games this year?
Yeah.
Everyone is.
No, I agree.
The one thing I want to say as well is a quick shout out to a guy that we definitely grilled enough before he left us, and Anthony Marcanic. Do not forget that he is on Minnesota as well. And so he is actually their 3rd leading goal scorer with 6 goals this season. And it's not like he's coming out with having like a hat trick. No, he's actually scored 4 in 4 of their last 5 games as well. So the man's on a little bit of a heater. And from a salary perspective, he's only making $104,000. So he's been doing extremely well for them. And it's going to be frustrating to see because that he's going to want this one even more, and he's going to probably score another goal on us, just like he did the first time this season.
And here's some more fun about Minnesota here. That's a great call, Justin. I think Marcanic, had we been able to keep him around a little bit longer to see the beginning of Olaf's time, we maybe could have seen a better version of him because he flourishes in that back 5, back 3 that Minnesota deploys. But this is a team that loves to counter. I already talked about the defense. They love to counterattack. They love those quick transitions. You're probably hearing that in your head, and you're seared with PTSD from the last 17 games we've played and all the transition goals we've allowed, or when the ones we haven't conceded, we've looked really disjointed in terms of defense. This is a team that also really, really benefits from long throw-ins. I read it online. They called it like Dyche zone. Sean Dyche is, I think, the head coach they're referring to, and how he used to play with Everton. But they lead. This is a stat. I have not backed it up. They lead all major global soccer leagues in long throw-ins. So they're going to look to go very direct. They're going to love looking at set pieces. They're going to take every chance they can to stack players in the box and cause havoc and chaos off of those set pieces. You can look at a throw-in as a set piece. So it's just going to be a really interesting match, in my opinion, with this Minnesota team. I know they're coming here to us. again, a team on paper, I'm looking at some other stats here, and guys, it just doesn't feel good. But I felt better about Dallas, and look what happened. Like, maybe we don't care about all this stuff and we go out and we put on a better performance. I mean, at this point, playoffs are still technically possible, right? Well, no one's talking about it because it's not going to happen for us. So maybe that frees us of any sort of tethering to another goal at this point, and now we can just go out and do our thing to the best of our ability. I mean, do you guys give any sort of chance to a result here for Minnesota?
No. I mean, talking about your long throw-ins, it's a good thing we have two absolute bruisers in Vollum and Ostrak who are going to lock down the middle of the pitch for us. No, I mean, if anyone says we have a chance in any game, I question that.
Yeah.
I don't even look at the opponent. I just do we have a chance? I don't know.
Vegas thinks we have a chance. We're plus 170 with Minnesota.
Yeah, that's why they get sucked. You who get beat by the crossbar in the 7th minute with Marcel.
Yeah, 2 bars, Justin. That's tough,
absolutely hate. Like, why are we not heavy underdogs? Like, us to score 2 goals in this game is even money. There is no chance that's happening, but I just cannot bet against my own team.
No, I'm with you.
You don't have to bet against it. If you just don't bet, though, that's
there
safe.
you go. That's the key, Justin.
Here's the fun in that, Mike.
Sorry.
Come and take.
All right, we'll do our best. Our last Minnesota topic we're going to try and do here is I'm going to roll our clip here, and we're going to break into the Hoffman Brothers starting 11 before we do. And Mike, you know what? Actually, I'll give you a little bit of time here because we're going to come to you to build the 11 to start in this match. Now you know who's available. You know who we're going to have. And go ahead and assume that both Minnesota guys are available and ready, and obviously no fall. So think about it. But let's talk about Hoffman Brothers here really quick here, Justin. Hoffman Brothers obviously are presenting sponsor for Ball Watching for 2025. They're also taking part in another thing that we're doing very, very shortly here. Stay tuned for that. They're an awesome partner. And when it's 108 degrees, I think the heat index was today in St. Louis, and will be, I believe, for the next 7 days, it looks like. Maybe not 107, but within and around that range. Guys, I'd be shocked if anyone escapes without needing something done on the AC or the cooling in their homes this year. So make sure that you reach out to Hoffman Brothers first for any issues underneath the roof for them. I mean, they are just a hell of a partner for us. And I really, really encourage you all to reach out to Hoffman Brothers. And Justin, we don't have the branding up here, but I'm going to go for it and make sure I see if I think I had the number top of mind. 314 664 3011.
I'm going to get you right here, Jake. It's 314-664-3011. You can visit them at hoffmanbros.com. And believe me, even if you feel like your house is cool right now, you're going to be fired up and sweating on Saturday nights when we take another L. So, Jake, why don't you bring us into who we're going to be shoving out onto the field for another L? I'm sweating.
Mike, I gave you time. I bought you a valuable minute there as I suffered through that. So give us the 11. Go back to front for us.
Sure. Berkey. Big surprise there. Big surprise. Totland, definitely. We're switching it up because some people know how much I really like this guy, but I'm not going to play Josh Yarrow. I'm going to play Timo Baumgartel, and I'm going to play JGR. Crazy, possibly. We'll go. Orozco has done enough to not just be replaced by someone coming in, but maybe, I don't know, maybe they are already going to do that. Leuven played 45, so he's probably good for more than 45. I'm starting the Lion as our box-to-box boy. I'm putting Vollum alongside him just because I think you need more of the legs with Leuven, knowing his fitness. And so I think they said he's listed 208 pounds on the broadcast against Dallas. Yeah, they said in the broadcast that Leuven's 6'2", 204 or 208. And I was like, what? Holy cow. That guy should be stuffing the A gap. He shouldn't be playing soccer.
Wait, so you're saying this is Leuven?
Yeah, that's what they said on the broadcast. I think they said he weighed over 200 pounds.
6'2", 201.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He was every bit of that after coming off of his first miss of the season. When he had shaved the head and had that beard, I think he was pushing 220.
Yeah,
that man was
thick. He looked built like an ox.
He's still our best midfielder.
Oh yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. He could weigh 60 pounds to be our best midfielder. So,
dude, Jake thought you were talking about volume at first. I just went.
I did.
Wait on there. That man can't even be triple digits soaking wet.
Yeah, no. Leuven and Volum. Okay. Sang Bin on the right, absolutely. And then if Celio can't go, give me some Jande Silva. Because it's not working. The guy has never had a chance to start a game. He comes on when we're losing every game and he looks terrible. So what do we have to lose? If he plays poorly, we lose. If someone else plays poorly, we'll lose. So just play someone that can maybe beat someone and cause some havoc. If Celio can go. If Celio can go, play Celio.
Yeah.
And then the two guys that speak for themselves, Marcel and Klaus.
It's hard to argue. I don't think I would do anything different there. I agree with your point on Orozco. I think done enough to maintain that spot, at least for now. I would definitely go back to JGR and Baumgartel if both available, ready to go. Tolan speaks for himself. The only thing the only person I do feel like kind of gets left off of this, but I still agree with what you're saying, is Ostrak, because I still think he's been a shinier light the last probably 3, 4, 5 games because he's just been playing. And even in last week where, there was a substitution, I believe it was who came out and it shifted him over to the left. He almost played like a left-hander or a left winger.
Betcher, I think, came out.
Betcher, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And it shifted him there. And that is not his position, nor should it be. But he even, grabbed the reins and kept going, did his best to, carry some threat. And I think him on the dribble is always fun to watch, doing some of those fun progressive carries. Because, again, it's a profile we don't really have much of. So I think if anyone gets kind of shafted in that, it's him. But I've liked the stuff that I've seen from Mostrak. It's just tough because he's just so small, and the defensive side of his game is just not complementary to what he offers moving forward. So it's about risk, tolerance there. Like, can you really stomach what he gives you moving forward and provide him cover moving backwards? Because I don't really think Leuven and Wallum do that for him.
And I think his profile is a little redundant when you have Leuven.
Agreed.
Because like Ostrak he's more of a on the ground dribbler progressor, but we talk about Minnesota is going to sit back like Dallas did. So Ostrak's ability to progress the ball deep and up, it's kind of a moot point because they're just going to let us do that anyways.
Right.
And so I think you let Leuven play, and then you have Wallum just kind of run around and be a energetic little guy. That's why I'd leave Ostrak out. But Leuven can't play 90, so probably bring Ostrak on for Leuven in the 65th, 70th.
Yep.
I like that. Obviously, Berkey, I like the back four. I like the Leuven and Volum in front of them. I would be interested to see then if Durkin or when he is healthy, kind of what, like you said, it's a position of this Volum where we're going to play him. Jande Silva has not impressed me, but to your point, Mike, man, I mean, can't bring this guy in and not at least give him a start. So you know what? Screw it. Throw him in there. Hartel under Klaus speaks for itself, as you already mentioned, and absolutely need to put Songbin in there for a full. I want a full 90 out of this guy, and I was looking at it as well when you were talking about Orozco. Like, yeah, what else are you going to do there? Jay Reed, no. Paddleford, no. I was looking at him. He only has a total of like 104 minutes for Minnesota this season, so he may be a solid replacement, but definitely not a guy that you're just going to have fly into St. Louis this week or whenever he came in and go straight into the starting lineup. So I think Orozco's done well. Yeah, it kind of sticks a little heavy in your mind on the most recent game, but I would like to think that he's at least had enough experience in his background to be able to just go right back out there and forget what happened.
Big cues, guys. Big questions. Justin, go dig in on if you got anything on Instagram you want to bring up here. But I got one that I'll toss over, a little grenade here, Mike, for you to start from Coach Smitty on X. And the question is, what will it take for this club to be fun to watch again? It hasn't been since the tail end of the first season. We were supposed to be the team that was hell to play against, end quote. And now we're the team that everyone wants to play because we play a soft and boring style of soccer. How do we bring the fun back?
That's a tough question, because it's so personal into what you like and from your team, like I'm a guy, I like 1-0s, which is probably sickening to a lot of people. But I think if you only have to score 1 goal to win, that's probably easier to have to score 2 or 3 to win. So that's kind of my bread and butter. So, I don't even know if we were excited to watch at the end of the first season, to be honest. I think it's farther back than that. Probably sometime around June midway. We had stopped becoming fun to watch.
Pre-Leagues Cup.
Yeah. The press stinks and it has stunk. That's why they tried to fix the press and they brought in Olaf and that didn't work, right? So you got to fix the press. Can you press? I think that's the biggest question is, can this team press? Can you get enough talent in Major League Soccer with the resource restraints that you have that you can actually press efficiently while also have on-ball quality? Because that's what we didn't have, right? So then we tried to fix it and then we lost the press. So we've had one or the other. So I don't know maybe there has to be a philosophical change because I haven't seen anything that we can do both so far, which might mean that you change your sporting director, your president, and everyone else. I don't know.
I think there's a lot of open-ended questions right now, but another one that kind of tails into the back of this I want to ask you as well, Mike, is this is from LW Creedy. We've had so many chances last game. What is preventing us from scoring? So I would say, is that something from a press perspective? Is it a lack of finishing? Or are we just not creating enough chances? If you were to make this very easy for you, Mike, if you were to just fix all the problems for City, because I personally like to see my team score, how would you suggest them to do that? Because I am not a sicko like you. I'd rather win 6-2 as opposed to a 1-0 game. And that's a part of also my betting. But I will also just ask you, how would you fix, why are we not scoring? What is just a general answer without getting too far into the weeds?
Yeah, I mean, we don't create enough space in the middle of the area for people to score, right? I think that's the easiest way. That's why Toy Shirt isn't scoring goals because, well, he's trying too hard, but also because there's no space to operate in because Klaus and Hartl are kind of in the same spot. So they all kind of converge as a defense. So you got to have creativity in the wide areas, and we don't have any of that. So you got to get guys like Totland is providing that. He's running beyond on the right-hand side, but you just have Tots. And then you have Celia, who he does beat his man, but what he does after he beats the man typically is really bad. He's not a very good shooter or passer of the ball, which is like a bummer, right? Because he's so good at beating people. So you have to be able to create mismatches, numerical disadvantages in wide areas that then gives space for the Klauses, Hartls, Leuven, Crashing, Toy Shirt to be able to just get on the end of a ball with a little bit of space so they can score a goal. I mean, we shouldn't have scored against Dallas. We only had 0.6 XG. So
the crossbar was like in the first 5 minutes. That was your best opportunity there. Yeah. And I agree with you, Mike. I think it's there's not enough off the ball movement either. When we do get into that final third, finally, I just feel like guys are a little bit lost. Like everyone kind of got to where they thought they should be on the pitch, maybe, and they all just kind of stand around there and just wait for something to happen around them, like someone to make a great incisive dribbling move, like an Ostrak, for example, and they can try to combine. But there's not enough movement either. And I agree, it's really frustrating to watch there. Another question that we got here was for you right in the beginning here, Mike, that I know I'm covering up your face right now, but I'll ask you the question. From Matthew Gibbs. How do you view the wide 10 position for City? Do you personally prefer an inside forward winger or a wide midfielder? Toy Shirt and Betcher as wingers has been a tough watch. I know you've already alluded to that. Yeah,
he's definitely right about the second part. It's a tough watch, right? I think it just depends. You got to have synergy between your wide 10s and then your fullbacks or wingbacks, however you're playing, right? Like if you've got someone like a Roscoe, you need someone to stay wide on the left-hand side because he's not providing that overlap or that underlap. So you can't really have like a Hartl out there. You got to have someone that's wide and providing width. And then on the right-hand side, you've got Totland who's bombing deep. So you can have someone who cuts in and then it still gives you that width. So it really you just have to have synergy there. And we haven't had synergy all season, maybe beyond this season. And I'm a wide areas attacker guy. That's my bread and butter of what will fix it. Almost always be better in the wide areas of attack, and that'll probably fix it, in my belief. So,
Jake, I had a couple other ones. I think we've pretty much covered them, but want to give a shout out to some of these people. Charles sent one as well, talking about some of these guys needing to set up. Cooper Lundvig talking about the young guys, which we covered. Hedy Lawrence has mentioned Toy Shirt in here so many times, which we have also done. And then a lot of people calling for Lutz's head. So I think we've covered a lot of these, but I do want to thank everybody that reached out on Instagram. Jake, is there anybody else on Twitter or X do we want to get into a quick predictions and what we think is going to happen?
I have one last, actually, I think segment I think people do, because I've seen a couple different things, people asking about this. Everyone wants to know about what are you going to do with the people that are coming up at the end of the year, 2025. And I want to just do a pulse, both of you. I want to get your keep, meaning either extend or exercise the option year, or sell. And I just want to get a quick fire from both of you. I'm putting both of you in the spot here. So I'll go I'm going to pull up this graphic, and this is a little bit out of date, but it's the best I can do on short notice here. But I think this will be fun, and hopefully people can kind of follow along here. But this is our roster profile. MLS keeps these updated. They're not updated right now because they don't have some of our more recent.
I just tweeted one out like
Did
you?
So,
All right, I'll pull yours up.
I've got it.
You got it, Justin?
Up right now. Yeah.
I don't think it has Sting, Ben, or Paddleford in there, but yeah.
All right, let's look at the
Or maybe it
2025 guys.
Yeah. All right, we starting at the top there.
Absolutely.
I mean,
So
we're
Klaus,
keeping Klaus, right? There's no debate there.
I think there would be debate in there, but I 100% agree with you, and we all three have been champions for him all season. I think you got to keep him.
I have not been on since he went on a goal-scoring run
Yeah.
when I had to defend him when he wasn't scoring goals. Now that he's scoring goals, so the only thing I'm going to say is ha.
I want to extend him, frankly. I think see if you can even get him off that price tag a little bit. Like
He's not going to be a DP, right? I think his next year he'd be a TAM player, which, again, if you really care about that, that's fine. I don't care about it. I care about wins. So
agreed.
Yeah. Keep him.
Klaus. Okay, we're keeping.
All right, thumbs up, thumbs down on Durkin.
Down.
I think you might take a swing there. I think you might.
Well, he expires. His U22 expires, right? So you're going to have to give him a lot of money. And if you can't stay on the field, which he hasn't the past year and a half, I think you can find better value for the price. So get rid.
All right, so I'm going to wrap these next three into one as well. And let me know if any of you guys disagree with keeping Sungbin Jung, Berkey, and Kessler.
Keeps.
Yep, I think that's an easy one for us. And then Xande Silva, $585,000. We have an option for 2026.
Outfielder's in.
That means
warrant the price, right?
Yep, that means goodbye. Yeah. See you later, buddy. Alfredo Morales. What is he, like 32?
No, I think he's like 35.
Jesus Christ! But the question is there for his. All right, so for $188,000, if we're going to get rid of Durkin, should we also be asking him? What are your thoughts?
I'd keep him.
I'd keep him too. He's cheap cover. He's a good supplemental player.
Yeah, transfer fees don't matter. Salary fees do matter. And 188. He's like the cheapest guy or the second cheapest guy in the entire senior roster apart from Betcher. Yeah, keep him. He's been misused the entire season, so keep him.
So here's one that I think that would also bump up against him is a Volum. I understand that Volum is 3 times more expensive almost when we're looking at this, but I know you think out. I would like to see if we could think of a way to play this man. If we go back to the 5 in the back, if we're healthy, do we go back to 3 center backs and have him out wide? Because I truly think that's where he fits. Because I don't think you're going to put him next to Leuven because we don't have enough defensive presence there. But what are your thoughts? I know, Mike, you're saying out. Jake, what are your thoughts as well?
I like where you're going, Mike, because it from a fit perspective, he was brought in for a totally different thing. We've morphed on from that. Unless we're going back to a back 5 with a new coach, I think if you're not going back to a back 5, I think it's definitely worth considering letting him go and not because the loan expires end of this year, correct? End of December.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I think you probably let that fly. Yeah, he's playing out of position right now. It's just not. He's making do, but I don't think you want to put the future in him.
I think your gadget players should be your supplemental players, not your players making the money. Personally,
fair point.
You don't have enough space for the guys making the money, anyways.
That's fair. Now we're moving into it. Rasmus Holm,
Ghost.
Yeah.
Also, Samuel Pedro.
I think he's gone now.
Never heard of him.
He's done. Yeah.
Yeah. Never heard of him.
Here's an interesting one. Ben Lund.
I would get rid of him. I think.
Would you just go younger, Mike, and just
I
someone?
think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's not your goalkeeper after Berkey leaves, whenever that is, whether it be this year, next year, whatever. He's not your future, and he's not going to play that much. I think you should play a young guy who's probably going to play. That's my opinion.
Reed could be a little bit divisive here. I have a feeling. I think
I'd keep him for the salary price. Yeah.
I agree.
And then we don't have a left back. He's the only actual left back in the entire team, right? With Orozco and Paddleford being like that weird center back playing out wide. He's the actual only left back on the team.
Yeah, okay. Well, Josh Yarrow, I know we're all going to say out.
Yes.
What about Akil Watts? The thing is I don't think any of us want to keep him, but it doesn't seem like the club are going to get rid of a guy that is playing. I can't pull the stat up because I'm sharing my screen, but I want to say he's like top 8 in minutes this season.
Yeah, he's that value of he can play whatever position you want him in, all of them below average, but he can play them all. So he's not the biggest need on this roster. If he is like the 28th or 29th guy on the roster, that is fine. he's playing the 8th most minutes. And
Agreed.
That's the problem.
Agreed.
And then, so is easy answer then for us here with Christian Oliveras? Obviously, if we're saying Lunt's out, he's in.
Yeah, I think so.
And then Orozco, I think he's making a solid case because right now, if we're talking about Paddleford or Reed, left back is still wide open. And it seems like something he could own if he would like to. So I think we're all in agreement on keep there. What are these next two? I'm also going to bundle into a similar one because they seem like City 2 guys that have made a little bit more of a name for themselves, but haven't really had that breakthrough moment for us. I feel like they've had solid showings, but nothing incredible between Wenzel and Zielinski.
Do you need Orozco, Wenzel, and Paddleford? No, right?
No.
So you should probably only need one of those 3 guys, right? If you're keeping Orozco, do you need Wenzel? And you're probably going to let Paddleford expire. That's the yellow bar. That'd be Paddleford. So, yeah, I would keep Zielinski because you don't have a backup right back unless you want to play Watts, and we just talked about it.
Yep. And he's been fine. He's made some mistakes, but he's been fine.
Yeah, it's his first year as professional soccer player.
Right.
All right, then you went for the whole Taylor Twellman earlier. I'm going to go with the Brian Windhorst. What is going on with Miggy Perez?
I would probably just move him to a USL team and have a good career, bud. Thanks for those memories in 2023.
Yeah, he was training with the first team today, apparently. But yeah, great memories. Probably not a good fit. So this is why I want us to do that, because I do think if people listen back to this, there'd be some surprises on there. Like I was talking about Durkin pretty unanimously being like, you know what, I think you can let him go. And same thing with Wallum. Like those are mostly, crowd favorites, I would say, fan favorites that have more quality than a lot of guys on the roster. But again, fit-wise, money-wise, just may not make the most sense for us going into the future. I think the new coach, whoever that person might be, would hopefully have some say in who starts to fill some of these vacancies. I doubt they will, because I think Lutz, I'm just hoping, like my hope for this window is that he brings up some of the end of year decisions to now and like get us going now versus waiting until December to say, hey, the club has parted ways with X, Y, Z. Like let's shift on some of these guys, whether that's for pennies on the dollar, like let's get something in the door or at least free up some availability to maybe sign Joyner as a supplemental guy. Like why not do that? Like give him a minute. He's clearly impressed probably more than anyone else from City 2 this season on the first team. So
Ryan Betcher as well. Ryan Betcher's been very good too.
I forgot about Betcher.
Joyner's too good for MLS Next Pro.
Yeah.
And our soccer ecosystem doesn't know how to like bridge that gap. We don't have anywhere to loan him to. So you have to bring him up, right? He can't threaten like a stagnation of his talent because he's too good. It's like that if you're the smartest guy in the room, find a different room. He's the best player in the field, find a different field. And that field should be with us, the adults.
Agreed. Maybe a first move for Lutz. Someone goes out, Joyner signs that, actual first team deal. No more City 2 traversing for him. But guys, it's been fun. I know we went on for a little bit here, but I think it was a fun exercise to do. Minnesota on deck. We didn't give our predictions, Justin. I think we all kind of did, though, and what we had to say about the matchup. Not envisioning things going remarkably well for the boys in the City Forever Red kits, but hoping for a fight.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a hot one down there, but get to the pitch prior to the game. I'm going to be down there well in advance. We are moving around in our seats, so come and find us when we are at the pitch before we get into the game. And then, as always, download Underdog and use code BALLWATCHING to get up to $1,000 back in bonus cash and play on Underdog. But I will see you all down there at the pitch. Mike, you going this Saturday?
I would definitely be there. I don't know if I'll be at the pitch yet. I had to decide with the wife and the little guy, but definitely will be at the game. So,
Mike, actually, surprised because don't you sit in Ultra Club?
I do.
We're going to be in Ultra Club.
Hey, look at that.
That's where we moved to this week.
That's nice. So we can all look down on the peasants together.
Exactly.
Laugh at them while they're standing in the dirt like a Shakespearean play.
It's going to be even better because it's going to be like 97? We don't have a high in the 80s for another week. So, yeah, I'm excited to use a little halftime AC in that Ultra Club.
Oh, it's so nice. I can't wait.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you, Mike, for joining us again. If you like what Mike has to say, or even if you don't, and you just appreciate talent, good quality work, make sure you give Mike a follow on Instagram, on X, at Chat City Tactics. He does some great analysis after every match. Definitely kind of helps you stomach what's gone on a couple of days prior to that, or at least learn a little bit about maybe why some things transpired that way. So, Mike, shout out to you. Thanks again for joining the show today, and make sure you go follow Mike.
And if you really don't like what he says, his phone number is 636. No, I'm kidding.
That's true, because that's a Washington area code. There you go. Washington, baby. The 63090. 2/3 of this podcast.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you follow the show here at Ball Watching. We'll be back next week for a recap of whatever transpires here this weekend and a preview of what's to come, hopefully facing some brighter days here in the future. But in the meantime, all for City.
All for City.
All for City.